Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching. It is the American Dufus show. Actually, it's not. It's the American Dufus channel. Sorry, old habits die hard, but we're rebranding. It's the American Dufus channel. This is news done differently for Monday night, the 14th day of the month of March, the year 2022. President Zelensky of Ukraine is expected to address Congress virtually on Wednesday morning at 9 p.m. Also, there's the possibility that there may be a high-level NATO meeting in the future, planning for that. So those are a couple of things that just have just been brought to attention that wasn't really on the docket, as well as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis may have some splaining to do. There may be some links to some Russian oligarchs and some possible illicit campaign funds. More to come on that. Judge Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, his wife was at the January 6th rally to overthrow the government. And I'm going to start a hashtag to impeach Clarence Thomas. Impeachment just means that there's suspected wrongdoing. It doesn't mean you're necessarily guilty, right, Donald Trump? Wink, wink, nod, nod. Let's get to Donald Trump, shall we? It's in the news. Otherwise, wouldn't be talking about it. But I played this afternoon in that episode, and I'm going to play it again tonight to start this episode. This was from Saturday. This was from South Carolina. You'll notice that it's no longer MAGA, except for him. He's still got his old "Make America Great" hat again, but it's now Save America. Okay, we saved America from you.
Anything. Getting critical race theory out of our schools is not just a matter of values. It's all.
Let me start that again so we've got full volume.
Anything. Getting critical race theory out of our schools is not just a matter of values. It's also a matter of national survival. We have no choice. The fate of any nation ultimately depends upon the willingness of its citizens to lay down, and they must do this, lay down their very lives to defend their country. If we allow the Marxists and communists and socialists to teach our children to hate America, there will be no one left to defend our flag or to protect our great country or its freedom.
Let's run that one more time.
Anything. Getting critical race theory out of our schools is not just a matter of values.
First of all, he doesn't know what critical race theory is. I guarantee it. He didn't know Finland wasn't part of Russia. It has race in it. It's going to incite everybody he thinks still supports him. A lot of them still do, and that's incredibly dangerous. But let me just pop over here to this real quick, and I'll get right back there. Governor Tate Reeves signs the so-called CRT, critical race theory, ban into law today, claiming that critical race theory serves only to indoctrinate children and humiliate white people. But he admitted that CRT is not even taught in any Mississippi classrooms. It's not taught anywhere. It's what's called a straw man. It's a potential. It's some major, massive, big, giant problem that we have to end, and it doesn't really exist. It is a theory. It is a concept among a lot of the Black intellectuals, as well as white intellectuals. that are considering whether there could be a tie between how criminal prosecution is implemented and the pigment of one's skin. That's one of the factors of it. It's not going to be taught. What they're going to do, they're going to say, we got to eliminate critical race theory. And that means we cannot teach anything about Black history. All right. Now, they're not going to come out and say that, but that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And he's conditioning his people that some of them are going to die because he's going to send them to war against the rest of the country. And the exact same thing is going on in Russia, as I will show you in just a few short minutes.
It's also a matter of national survival. We have no choice. The fate of any nation ultimately depends upon the willingness of its citizens to lay down, and they must do this, lay down their very lives to defend their country. If we allow the Marxists and communists and socialists to teach our children to hate America, there will be no one left to defend our flag or to protect our great country or its freedom.
First of all, I know a lot of teachers here in Indiana. None of them are communists. None of them are socialists. Majority of them are Republicans, honestly. They're probably questioning why you're saying this about them, but we know why. Remember the rules of propaganda. What they are doing, they're accusing others of doing. And that's how it works. This is, let me see if I can find the other one first that ties into this. This is a really dangerous, there's our man. Here's Trump again. This was recorded inside a speech at Mar-a-Lago.
Literally a vast.
Now this was before the Putin's a genius.
Trump said he's smart. I mean, he's taken over a country for $2 worth of sanctions. I'd say that's pretty smart.
He's taken over a country, and he thinks that's smart. That's what he is trying to do. He is trying to take over this country. And if we as Americans, Republicans, Democrats, independents, not active politically, but want freedom, we need to be aware of it. We're going to have to stop it somehow, eventually, because he's telling his people to get ready to die for it. Now, I got a message after playing what I played this afternoon, and it was a troubling message. And it said, you don't understand. He's not telling us that we're going to have to die. We know that. He's telling you that you're going to get killed in order that he comes to power. I hadn't looked at it that way, but it was intended as a threat, but it was probably spot on. Let me see if I can find this real quick. A lot of stuff to go through tonight, a lot of things to get to. And I want to get to this Russian newscaster. Thanks for your patience here. I mean, I got a lot of stuff. Food fights going on, and not like in Animal House where food fights were going on, but two different circumstances of documented people fighting over food in Russia. And you got to remember that it's really hard to get communication in and out of Russia at the moment. Here we go. This is the one I was looking for. Okay. Now this is in Russian, but very hard to hear. And you see how uncomfortable the one bald guy is getting over the conversation. Let me pop it back to right about.
Для тех, кто издевается над нашими пленными, я бы восстановил смертную казнь через приговор военного трибунала, через повешение. На мой взгляд, это принципиально важно. Указ президента об особом порядке рассмотрения уголовных дел в зоне проведения спецоперации по денацификации. И вот там для террористов, для людей, которые угрожают мирным жителям, создают угрозу для них.
They advocate implementing public hangings in Ukraine once Russia's dominance is established. Other pundits later agreed, one of them noting that LPR Constitution conveniently permits the death penalty. I've got another video that they've been playing on Russian TV that shows the hangings, the mass hangings of World War II, where they would hang 50 people in a public square, 50 supposedly spies at that time. Now it's terrorists. Everybody's a terrorist if they're against you. When they are the real terrorists. They are the ones creating terror. So the same thing that's happening here, Trump is preparing people that they're going to have to die for him. They're preparing to hang anyone in Russia or Ukraine that does not agree with them. That's not freedom. That's not democracy. That tells you what a piece of shit Tucker Carlson and anybody that agrees and supports this kind of crap really and truly is. Really and truly is. Even the people in Russia are starting to wake up to what's going on. By the way, a group called Anonymous sent 7 million individual messages to cell phones of people in Russia. Now, it's not going to catch everybody in Russia, but a lot of them got the message and got documented footage of what's actually going on. This is what happened earlier today, last night in Russia. In order to make sure we don't get cut off. We have to do things this way.
О том, как смягчить воздействие западных санкций, говорил сегодня Михаил Мишустин. На встрече со своим белорусским коллегой российский премьер подчеркнул, надо усилить сотрудничество в рамках союзного государства, а на совещании в правительстве обсуждали, как сохранить... О том, как смягчить воздействие западных...
Okay, that woman broke onto the set of a Russian anti-war war protester, Marina Oslovanka, interrupted a live news bulletin on Russia's state TV, Channel 1, holding up a sign behind a studio presenter and shouting slogans denouncing the war in Ukraine. That's it's a pretty brave thing to do, but at the same time, person has been promoting the war for a number of days and actually a number of years. So what she did was really brave, and she probably did it out of a lot of guilt. And this is what she said. This is what she said. She recorded a message before she invaded the TV studio. She said, quote, "What is happening in Ukraine is a crime, and Russia is the aggressor here, and responsibility for this aggression rests on the conscience of a single man, Vladimir Putin. My father is Ukrainian. My mother is Russian, and they've never been enemies. And this necklace I'm wearing is a symbol of that fact, that Russia must immediately end this fratricidal war, and our fraternal people will still be able to make peace. Unfortunately, I've spent many of the last few years working for Channel 1 doing Kremlin propaganda, and I'm deeply ashamed of this. Ashamed that I allowed lies to come from the TV screen. Ashamed that I allowed the zombification of Russian people." Remember, Chris Wallace left Fox. A lot of broadcasters left Fox. We were silent in 2014 when all this had just started. We didn't protest when the Kremlin poisoned Navalny. We just silently watched this anti-human regime at work. And now the whole world has turned its back on us. And the next 10 generations won't wash away the stain of this fratricidal war. We Russians are thinking and intelligent people. It's in our power alone to stop all this madness. Go protest. Don't be afraid of anything. They can't lock us all away. However, they are doing their best to lock as many of them away as possible. Another 874 locked away yesterday, as far as just in Moscow and St. Petersburg. As far as protesters in other smaller areas, you don't hear about the protests, probably because anyone that does is not heard from again. And there are cameras to show what's going on in all areas. This is the actual, if I can get it to come up here. Okay, this is the actual speech she gave, which I just basically told you what she was saying.
То, что сейчас происходит на Украине, это преступление. И Россия – страна-агрессор. И ответственность за эту агрессию лежит на совести только одного человека. И этот человек Владимир Путин. Мой отец украинец, моя мать русская. И они никогда не были врагами. И это ожерелье на моей шее как символ того, что Россия должна немедленно остановить братоубийственную войну. И наши братские народы еще смогут примириться. К сожалению, последние годы я работала на Первом канале, занимаясь кремлевской пропагандой. И мне сейчас очень стыдно за это. Стыдно за то, что позволяла говорить ложь с экрана телевизора. Стыдно за то, что позволяла зомбировать русских людей. Мы промолчали в 2014 году, когда все это только начиналось. Мы не вышли на митинги, когда Кремль отравил Навального. Мы просто безмолвно наблюдали за этим античеловеческим режимом. И сейчас от нас отвернулся весь мир. И еще 10 поколений наших потомков не отмоются от позора этой братоубийственной войны. Мы, русские люди, думающие и умные. Только в наших силах остановить все это безумие. Выходите на митинги, ничего не бойтесь. Они не могут пересажать нас всех.
Will that be the United States soon? Will we be at a position where we have to resist because our government has been overthrown and taken over by fascists? And anybody that says that is a communist or a Nazi or a socialist or whatever the current derogatory label is. I sure hope not, but I'm afraid that might be the case. Again, I sure hope not. The lady on the screen, she is a mother of two, and she was obviously taken into custody shortly after she broke onto the TV set. I imagine Fox security, the security at Fox TV is much more tight. Nothing like that would ever happen there. But boy, it would be funny if somebody popped on there with a big sign with an arrow pointing down, liar, liar, and pants on fire or something, just to draw attention to the fact that there's some garbage coming out of that group of some of the group of those reporters. On to other news, but not really, because we're still talking about Russian propaganda. Those that have watched the show, those that have been watching since before it started, I said, yeah, this is going to happen because it's not about Ukraine. And I've said Ukraine's a stage, Ukraine's a platform. Let me pull this up so you can all read it. Here's what Russia's top propagandist Vladimir Sullivan said today. If you think we are going to stop Ukraine, think about it 300 times. Let me remind you that Ukraine is only an intermediate stage in ensuring the strategic security of the Russian Federation. I was spooked kind of when I saw that. Because yes, I'd said that stage and platform, and I didn't expect anyone else to ever use those exact words. This happened yesterday. At the opening ceremony, the Soviet and American flags with the Soviet national anthem and the Star-Spangled Banner playing in the background before the unveiling of the Donetsk People's Republic flag. This is the Soviet flag, okay? This isn't the Russian flag. You'll notice the Z, and you'll notice the black, red, and blue, the separatist movement, all right? These are the Russian, these are the areas where the Russian occupation has been going on since 2014, and a lot of Ukrainians have been killed by pro-Russian forces and by Russian forces in these areas, requiring loyalty in a totalitarian form. Okay, it's not authoritarian anymore. It's totalitarian in Russia now. There's no media. Okay, there's no rights. You cannot say war. You cannot say peace. You cannot give the peace sign. It's a totalitarian government that is what Trump wants to do here. And no, I'm not being a. It's not about politics. It's about justice. All right. If Bill Clinton was trying to do the same thing Trump has been doing, and I wouldn't put it past Bill Clinton, honestly, I'd be saying the same thing. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson being anti-American and pro-Russian and pro-death. And I say the same thing about Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat. This isn't about politics. This is about justice. This is about freedom. This is about democracy. This is about exposing the propaganda. And I've been trying to do it from the big lie all the way back in 2017. I started talking about how, and I lost a whole bunch of friends. I had a really fairly large following of my written journalism. And I started talking about how neo-Nazi groups and hate groups were lining up behind Trump. And a lot of Republicans got really upset with me and calling me an alarmist and stuff. And here we are. And here we are, proudly holding the United States flag while the national anthem's played, along with the Soviet flag and the current Z. Z is not a letter in the Russian alphabet. Z is a symbol that they have been promoting for an awfully long time. Just because we didn't become aware of it over here in the United States doesn't mean it hasn't been going on, because it has. This is one of Russia's most effective propagandists. You notice all of us wearing black hoodies nowadays. The impotent rage of a guy who just lost his 2 homes on Lake Como, which he had earned by brainwashing his compatriots for years. His lead propagandist says Ukraine is just an interim stop on Russia's plans to destroy us all of us. And I told you this. They announced it like 2 weeks before the attack that we're not afraid of nuclear war. Our ballistic missiles will never get out of the tubes. We're going to blow them right where they sit. If it comes to that, if nuclear war comes, we're going to blow them right where they sit. And the guy said, well, that'll destroy Russia. And he said, no, that will destroy the world. I'll play a little bit of it, but again, it's in Russian. I don't have a translation. As far as I've got the translation, but I don't have the closed captioning subtitles.
Федерации.
But you can tell by his.
Смотрите нас на всех платформах. И сегодня даже стрим в Телеграме. Подпишитесь на Телеграм-канал Соловьев. 13 727 человек смотрит нас впервые в трансляции в Телеге. 39 тысяч смотрит нас на Ютубе, Юклайф. Я не знаю, сколько нас смотрит на ВКонтакте, Рутюбе, на родной платформе «Смотрим». В Рутюбе 10 тысяч. Смотрите всюду и подписывайтесь. Подписывайтесь. Не дадим врагам загасить голос правды. Время Голована. Российской Федерации. Смотрите нас на всех платформах. И сегодня даже стрим в Телеграме. Подпишитесь на Телеграм-канал Соловьев.
It's like Rush Limbaugh.
13 727 человек смотрит нас впервые в трансляции в Телеге. 39 тысяч смотрит нас на Ютубе, Юклайф. Я не знаю, сколько нас смотрит на ВКонтакте, Рутюбе, на родной платформе «Смотрим». В Рутюбе 10 тысяч. Смотрите всюду и подписывайтесь.
There it is. We're coming for you. We're coming for all of you. So, just so you wonder, if anybody's wondering what the what the morale is like in the certain parts of the Ukrainian. I can't play the music for copyright purposes, but you've heard enough, most of you, that know what's going on and what they've overlaid. We always have to have just a little bit of touch of anything close to levity, because there is so much heaviness and darkness going on in the world. But that comes from the field. Those were Ukrainian troops. I just told you. And by the way, Adam Kinzinger, who posted this meme, in case you don't know, he is a Republican congressman. So again, we can't be getting monolithic. Okay, not all Republicans are going to be for Putin, and not all Democrats are going to be for democracy. It's not going to be divided by party lines. It's not going to be divided. There will be a major class divide once this is all said and done and people wake up. But in the beginning, if it ever happens here, it's going to be hard to know who's fighting who you should be fighting and who you should be trusting. And that's why we can never get to that place. Details from the evidence cited in the indictment of Enrique Haro, the former head of the Proud Boys, reveals a plan with similarities to what unfolded at the Capitol, with details about plans to storm various other government buildings. So it wasn't just going to be the Capitol. Here we go. We've got a coastal warning that just came out. It's in the Black Sea from the Russian Federation, and they are warning all vessels to refrain from traveling in these. Oh my gosh, I forgot the word. In these coordinates. Traveling in these coordinates and the outer limit of the Russian Federation, and this is basically along the coastline of from Odessa to Mariupol, basically along the Ukrainian coastline. Thank you for watching, those that are here live, and if you're watching on the recorded version, leave a comment if you would. And thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe, like, share. If you're here on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, hit the follow, and follow me on Twitter as well. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me at the moment, is a message through Twitter. That's probably going to be the best way to contact me. I want to find something here. Well, while I have this here, just a reminder: sexual orientation is not a choice. Race is not a choice. Place of birth is not a choice. Your ethnic group is not a choice. Hate is a choice. And all hate does is destroy you and those around you. So choose love. Melitopol, another one of the occupied cities in Ukraine. word got out that there was going to be a public demonstration, which there was, and this is the preparation for it. Now this is what crowd control is going to be like. What they're expecting crowd control to be like in a relatively small not celebration, but demonstration, and in a relatively small city. That's why they don't have anywhere enough troops to be taking over cities and holding them. Okay, they don't have enough troops at the moment with what we know they have to encircle Kyiv. Now that doesn't mean they're not going to get troops. I mentioned earlier. Okay, let's just go. I mentioned earlier that Russia had contacted China about troops. I've got that in just a second. Over 40,000 Syrians have registered to travel to the Ukraine and fight for Russia, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a non-governmental group. No Syrian fighters have left the country as of March 14th, the group says. I'm sorry, but that's wrong. And that, the numbers, the numbers the UN says, they're not accurate. By the time they get everything processed and it goes through all the channeling, so much more has happened by the time they are actually prepared to present their numbers. Their numbers are irrelevant anymore. This group is probably the same way, because 2 days ago there were 2 yellow buses on the outskirts of Kyiv with 2 Russian officers, and everybody else on both buses were presumed to be Syrian. They were not white. Okay. Now that brings me to the point. Does Russia really think bringing 40,000 brown people in is going to make America not want to go to war? You get what I'm saying? We have a propensity to go to war against brown people. Do we not? Do we not? I'm waiting. World War II, we fought Hitler. Yeah. After that, we fought Korea. We fought Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, numerous other clashes. I don't know, 40,000 brown people from Syria coming in there is going to be a deterrent. It might be it might be a go code. And I hate to say that about my country. I hate to, but I have to. We opened the segment with Trump saying, it's about race. You're going to have to lay down your life to make sure black people don't get equality, and that we have to teach that black people were brought over here from Africa as slaves. That will humiliate white people. Didn't you see the follow-up story? The governor of Mississippi. That will humiliate white people. I wasn't humiliated when I found out, that what we did to the Indians. I didn't do it. I'm not humiliated by slavery. I'm ashamed that it happened. I'm not humiliated by it because I didn't do it. And more than once, I've deeply apologized to the black community for what for what people that look like me have done to their culture, to their values, to their history, to their names, let alone to their bodies, minds, spirits, and souls. So I don't want to say that America might not have a problem killing people with pigment, but I'm sorry, I just kind of laid it out there for you. So Russia may be not making a wise choice. And I'm sure, I'm going to get hammered for saying that, but I'm sorry. The truth isn't pretty. And I got to read all these little blurbs because, man, all of them are important, but I want to get to this one thing while I'm talking about not being proud of the country. I'll get to this first here. Just stop here real quick. When I was a kid, this is what we did. When I was a kid, we were really aware that there might be nuclear bombs. We didn't understand, what the hell a nuclear bomb was, because if we would have, we would have realized that duck and cover. There's a little cartoon that was played in all the classrooms. Duck and cover. You're supposed to get under your desk and cover your head. That way you didn't see the fireball that was going to vaporize you, I guess was the philosophy behind it. Because it sure wasn't going to be any kind of deterrence. I'm going to get all the way down here, and as soon as I get here, it's going to refresh us back to the top. Here it is. Imagine, if you will, again, if you're my age or around my age, you remember the old Twilight Zone TV show. Otherwise, you might have caught it on one of the many networks. A country shows so ashamed of its history that it punishes people for teaching that history. Let's hope we're never like that, but my gosh. Not me personally, but some of the people that track the flights, as I do at times, but I wasn't doing it when this happened. 3 of the Russian oligarchs' private jets were tracked to Israel. Israel has offered safe harbor for Russian oligarchs. And this is Mofovich, and his jet has flown out. The other 2 are still there. His jet's flown out. I think it went to Istanbul, Turkey, and it's being monitored. Russian military intelligence says that in addition to military hardware, Russia is also begging Beijing to send forces. Okay, I knew that was going to happen. I should have clicked on it. But you saw it. So there's just so much going on. And I've talked about how this is not about Ukraine, and it's really not. It's about trying to get us involved, and so far we've been diligent. I saved this. I feel like the fact that Russia banned all free speech, all social media platforms, and all journalists from reporting Putin's war against Ukraine, yet pushes for Tucker Carlson and Fox News to be broadcast on Russian state TV. It should be a bigger story, trying to make it that way. We're also trying to hashtag impeach Clarence Thomas. Let's find out. Let's find out what is really going on in all the nooks and crannies of Clarence Thomas and his wife. And this isn't racist. His wife's white, by the way. Again, the big giant Z. This is not something new. It's new to us, but they have been pushing this as the new swastika, the new symbol for nationalism in Russia. 5 hours ago, the death of a young black man who was found hanging from a tree in Indiana nearly 100 years ago has finally been ruled a lynching. Only took 100 years. And I reported on these stories. You can go back and find those episodes of the lynchings here in Indiana. And we just about had one 2 years ago in by Monroe Reservoir. A young black man, they were going to get the rope, but somebody had a camera and somebody thought better, and those trials will be, those people will be coming to trial. People in Moscow, this is, you know, this, sorry, this, this might be like the Thursday after Thanksgiving at a Walmart with giant TVs for sale, and there's only 3 or 4 of them or something. But these people are pushing and shoving and fighting over this delivery of sugar. Okay. So things are tightening up in Russia. And if you want the same thing to happen here, you go ahead and do nonsense, you know, instead of realizing, hey, we're going to be all in this together. Let's focus on what's really important here. And I think I've gone, yeah, there it is right there. This is the second food shortage fight that broke out. And it's this, I apologize, but my computer is now. Sorry. I'm not sure what's going on here with, and it's nobody messing with my signal or my thing or anything. It's this, I've got this really old computer. The other one crashed. I'm only operating on one, and it's got the keys stick. And if I put my hands in the wrong spot, it automatically starts. And I apologize, but we're doing with what we got, and that's kind of the American way, and it may be even more so the American way as we paint a picture of what a possible future could be. By the way, I've ran past this several times. Let's just go ahead and get it in. For those that have been blaming the administration and blaming Washington, D.C., and blaming Joe Biden for high gas prices, oil falls below $100 a barrel again. And I saw gas prices rise overnight, but let's see if we see them fall overnight as well. If not, well, even if so, we've got a pretty good idea where the blame is actually rightfully placed, and it's with the oil companies. But of course, the politicians aren't going to say that because they get paid by the oil companies. You'll hear a lot about a Senator Manchin. He's a Democrat. Check his donation records, and you'll find that $650,000 from oil companies. Yeah, and I ran against Mike Pence. I had $50,000. Not a single bit of it was from anybody other than people. He had $1.5 million. I got 40% of the vote. He got 52% of the vote. The other two independent candidates got the rest. It's all about money, folks. QAnon, the game that plays you. And it says for really fucking stupid people of all ages. But that's wrong, because the people are gullible. They're not stupid. And a lot of them are smart and know the Q stuff is is BS, but they're okay with it because they don't really care about anybody but themselves, or people that look like them and think like them. There are reports the United States government is preparing to implement an extreme sanctions package on the Russian Federation. We've already done that supposedly, but this gets even worse. We are going to include a full trade embargo banning Russian ships from strategic international waterways like the Panama Canal or the Strait of Gibraltar. An international waterway ban, if enforced, could very quickly lead to a confrontation between Russian and British U.S. warships, especially if the Strait of Gibraltar or Dover is involved. The Hague has set a ruling on Russia's war. Ukraine is requesting that Russia be ordered to end its war and withdraw all the troops from the country. The International Court of Justice will issue a ruling on the 16th. I imagine that'll be kind of like, we find you guilty, get out. Russia says no. And they say, we've done all we can do. Call me cynical or call me informed. Your choice. This chart shows the Russians, the way they use their social media and how varying sites have impacted. 57% of them use Instagram. I'm going to be expanding out to Instagram, Instagram, Telegram, and one other here coming up really soon. But they use Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, PayPal, Samsung, GPay, Booking.com, iPhone, Netflix, and Twitter. Twitter is the low, coming in about 14%. All of these have been, again, I apologize for the touchiness of the computer. All of these have been removed from Russian access. Okay. This is, I broke the news the other day. I think I was the first, honestly, I think I was the first one anywhere Saturday to report that ballistic missiles had been fired from Iran into northern Iraq, and the Kurdish held positions in northern Iraq at a United States consulate. Actually, here's the first picture of damage that we've had. And this comes from the New York Times, and it said they attacked yesterday, and they attacked an Israeli training center. That was the target of the attack. It was not the American consulate, and that Iran had made sure that this is where their missiles hit. Okay, well, that's where they hit. As far as not targeting the American consulate, I'll leave that to others to decide if that's what happened. I'm going to get down here finally to the story of the other food fight. I haven't forgot about it. This is Russian drone footage. This is a Russian missile strike on a Ukrainian arms depot, an Icelandic intercontinental ballistic missile. You can see after the initial hit, you can see munitions being discharged following the explosion, the initial explosion. Again, that was hacked from a Russian drone, or not hacked from a Russian drone, but it was passed on from a Russian site. Got hacking on the head. I found this interesting. This is the chart of the majors of Ukrainian products since 2020. Here's Ukraine. Here's all the places that import things from them, specifically wheat. Ukraine provides, I think it was 70% of the United Nations relief programs when it comes to wheat. If I don't, I missed. I'm sure I did. So I want to get back down to that if I can here. Well, let's go ahead and pop this out so it doesn't refresh on us and we lose it midway through the video. Okay, this is at a major construction company in Russia, and you'll notice some of the workers are wearing yellow and some of them are wearing orange. Some of them are bosses and some of them are employees. The bosses' plates are overflowing with food. The workers' plates, not so much. Here's what happened. So food fights have already begun in Russia. Just 2 of them there that we've been able to document so far. Senior U.S. official briefed on the herbal attack that we talked about just a couple of minutes ago. According to a New York Times writer, of course it would do that. The building was struck. The building is what I was telling you basically. The building that was struck was the training center for the Israeli army, and that the U.S. consulate was not the target. And I thought I had, okay, here we go. This is from the United Nations. Raising the alert level of the Russian nuclear forces is a bone-chilling development. That happened again. Prospect of nuclear conflict, once unthinkable, is now back within the realm of possibility. Russian oligarch Leonid Nezlev announced he will renounce his Russian citizenship to protest the war. He says he's against the war and against the occupation. He goes on to say, and I kid you not, everything that Putin touches dies. Maybe that's why nobody would shake hands with him in the video we had the other night. A wave of Ukraine and Russian immigrants are at the U.S.-Mexico border. Up to 8,000 have either crossed or are attempting to cross, and most of them are coming through the checkpoints around San Diego. China has sent 13 aircraft towards Taiwan after the island grounds some fighters. China sent 13 aircraft toward Taiwan. And Elon Musk, I hereby challenge, and this is Vladimir Putin in Russian, to single combat, and the stakes are Ukraine. He wants to Putin one-on-one, and whoever wins gets Ukraine. I don't know. Some maybe anyway. Let me see if I can get this out so it doesn't disappear on us. Nope, I can't. Because I just clicked on Rigo instead of on the actual story. Albert Einstein once wrote on a chalkboard, 9 times 1, 9 times 2, all the way to 9 times 10. And suddenly chaos erupted in the classroom because Einstein made a mistake. The student's correct answer to 9 times 10 isn't 91. And the students ridiculed him. And he waited for everybody to be quiet and for the laughter to die down. And he said, despite the fact that I analyzed 9 problems correctly, no one congratulated me. But when I made one mistake, everyone started laughing. This means that even if a person is successful, society will notice his slightest mistakes. It's very true. So don't let criticism destroy your dreams. The only person who never makes a mistake is the one who does nothing. As always, just something to think about. Okay, I might have covered everything I wanted to get to here in just over an hour. I sure hope so. I apologize for busting through things so fast. I'd like to slow down and talk more about each thing, but no, apparently there's a serial killer traveling between Washington, D.C. and New York City and targeting homeless people. So I showed the face the other night of the guy that killed, or didn't kill, but stabbed 2 people at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. And if I get a face shot of the guy that is suspected of occupants have set up camps along Ukraine's border to accommodate Syrian mercenaries. So Russians are indeed planning on Syrian mercenaries. Again, up to 40,000 of them have supposedly applied. Let's see if this will pop out. Okay. These are babies. These are the teenagers of Ukraine. Ukraine military is training young men for 3 days and putting them on the front lines. There's just no way you can teach a person how to be a soldier in 3 days and expect him to survive what is to come. And I believe that. I know enough military people that I have doubt. Turkish Defense Ministry says NATO to hold extraordinary defense ministry meeting on Ukraine on March 16th. So all the defense ministers of the NATO countries will be meeting in Brussels. And I mentioned earlier there may be an even higher level meeting. It's rumored that President Biden will be going to the region for a meeting of all the heads of state of NATO, possibly late next week, depending on future developments. Pro-Russian new mayor in Melitopol calls, quote, to stay in tune with the new reality, end quote. So the mayor of Melitopol has been, was basically kidnapped from his office by Russian troops, had a plastic bag put over his head. He, according to intelligence, he's now in the Luhansk province and is being treated as a terrorist. The new mayor is, go along to get along. I'm going to stay alive. I'll do whatever they say. And one of two things happens in that situation. You're betting on the side that you're going along with to win, because if they win, you stay in power. If they lose, you get killed. That's what's going to happen to that quote unquote mayor. The mayor either is going to be the mayor of a Russian city or is going to be a traitor to the Ukrainian country. So again, it's going to be either or here in our nation one day. I sure hope I'm incredibly wrong about it, but I don't think anybody's even taking the Trump threat seriously yet, and I hope they do before it's too late. I'm just one dude with maybe 500 people listening. I'm not going to be able to do anything about it other than blow the horn and be the messenger and make people aware of what might be coming. Dolly Parton. I don't know. How could you not like Dolly Parton? I'm sure there are those that don't, but this, if you don't like Dolly, you got to at least respect her on this. She writes, Dolly here. Even though I am extremely flattered and grateful to be nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I don't feel that I have earned that right. I totally agree with her. And man, I just admire the heck out of her for saying so. She goes on to say, I really do not want votes to be split because of me, so I must respectfully bow out. I do hope that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will understand and be willing to consider me again if I'm ever worthy. This has, however, inspired me to put out a hopefully great rock and roll album at some point in the future. Rock on, Dolly. If you need a bass player, okay, where was I? Put out a rock and roll album at some point in the future, which I've always wanted to do. Good for her. My husband is a total rock and roll freak. I had heard that, and has always encouraged me to do one. I wish all of the nominees good luck, and thank you again for the compliment. Rock on. I was a country disc jockey for a long time and was fortunate enough to introduce a lot of people, Faith Hill among them, and interview a bunch of people. But at the concerts, I'd always tell them, I don't like this music at all. But, I like you as a person. I just, if you're playing rock, I appreciate it even better. And somebody said, yeah, Dolly Parton's husband's just like you. So that I had heard that he was in rock and roll, and I imagine he's been prodding Dolly to do something. So again, maybe we'll hear from Dolly Parton in the genre in the future, but nonetheless, a class act right now for saying, hey, I appreciate it, but really, come on. I'm not rock and roll. She's not. Russian troops blew up explosives at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Ukraine's state-run nuclear energy company said today that the explosive had been blown up near the Russian-controlled Ukrainian plant's main reactor, and that further explosions are planned. They're detonating landmines around a nuclear reactor. And if that's not trying to cause a nuclear accident, I'm really, the more I do these, the more I'm getting to the point where, okay, Russia is not a strong, powerful thing like they've been selling to the world. Maybe we're not either. But if we are, okay. I talked about this a little bit last night, about the idea of a ceasefire, and then it becomes kind of like a frozen map. And this exemplifies, and also they had the same feeling I did. The day Putin accepts the ceasefire will be the worst day in Ukrainian history. The entire world will pressure Kyiv to accept the offer. He will, and whatever is under Russian control at that moment will never be given back to Ukraine. And that's basically what I said 3 or 4 days ago about my lack of hope for a ceasefire accomplishing much, if anything. And if a ceasefire is signed, then the chances of getting Russian troops out of there goes down significantly. This is some drone footage from Mariupol, the port city right on the Sea of Azov, named after the Virgin Mary. And this is the city that's been surrounded. This is the city that they haven't been able to get any aid in, and be able to get very few people out as far as evacuations. And this is basically the view from early this morning of the remnants of the bombing of the night before. And you can see plainly that this isn't about liberating areas that people have deemed pro-Russia. This is about blowing up apartment buildings, blowing up hospitals, blowing up supermarkets, schools. And while they say we're dropping dumb bombs and maybe an accident or two happens, this kind of devastation is not accidental. And you very rarely get a full look at the whole scope of devastation, but this drone footage captures it just about as good as anything I've seen. And I talk about mainstream media a lot and about their reporting and stuff, and I think it's great when I do a story and 2 days later it's breaking news on CNN and we've known about it for 48 hours. But you got to remember that what's called news now really isn't a lot of news. What goes on and what has gone on. Okay. What goes on and what has gone on in media. A lot of the people in media are really lazy people. Okay. I ran for office, and I would write press releases, and I'd structure my press releases such that, I knew how to write. So they would take my press releases and just make it a news story and not do anything to it. And that's how they do a lot of their news. The State Department, this from the State Department, this from the Department of Defense. They get talking points from the government and make their news stories out of that. That's sadly how news is done. There's not a lot of hard news anymore other than places like this, because it is so many, it's all about government talking points and either being for the talking points, against the talking points, or creating your own alternate reality. And you can, A, B, and C, you can match up various networks with the different descriptions and decide on your own who's doing what. Large column of Russian military vehicles, including self-propelled artillery, support vehicles, and probable command variants, BTRs. The column was in Kuplansk, a Kharkiv Oblast, northeastern Ukraine. So just across, relatively short distance across the line into Ukraine. And again, fairly large columns. So at one time, it was said that 85% of the Russian troops have been engaged. We're probably going to be hearing, I've seen a couple of these in the past couple of days, we're probably going to be hearing that 100% of the Russian forces, which was 190,000 men, 100% of the forces have been engaged in Ukraine. And there's, the number of dead is not close. What Russia is reporting as the number of dead is not close. What Ukraine is reporting as the number of dead is not close, because Russia's digging big pits and just throwing the bodies in and setting them on fire. In many cases, there's just not, the mobile crematoriums just aren't working fast enough. And that's just bone chilling. Not only do you go and die on a battlefield, but your family never even knows what happens to you. Okay, this is a follow-up on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Detonated some mines unexploded at the nuclear power plant right next to Unit 1. It is still unknown whether the radiation level of the territory of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant changed after the explosions. This is just to give you an idea of eyes in the sky for those of you that are military. We've got a NATO AWACS. We've got a United States Air Force J-Star, a Russian 135 Stent, an American 135 Stent, Swedish Air Force Stent, Signet, an A-30 tanker, an A-40 tanker, and a KC-10 tanker. The tankers are what's right here in these little jumbled areas. They basically fly in ovals, waiting for other planes to come up and refuel. And you can see they've been heavy up here along the coast of Norway. Why is that? Well, tomorrow, NATO's doing war games in Norway tomorrow. There are 30,000 NATO troops in Norway right at the moment. Russia is aware of this, and I think I've got a blurb on it, so we'll talk more about it in just a second. But I wanted to show you this. And no, this isn't a Ukrainian tractor stealing a Russian jet. This jet was hit and damaged, obviously, but yet was able to make it back to its home base. And because people that really know what they're looking for saw the picture where I've paused it. This was hit by friendly fire. Not that it wasn't hit over here or on the tail by Ukrainian fire, but this was hit by Russian anti-aircraft fire, supposedly. It's just something to think about. But it's rather amazing that that this pilot was able to get this bird back. And in the man, I never thought I'd see something like this column.
Україна. Доброго ранку, ми з
Okay, I don't think
Доброго ранку, ми з Миколаєва, а Миколаїв – це Україна. Хочу показати в даному відео, як нам зробили подарунок. І так як ми неодноразово скаржилися, що орки дуже кивають п'ятами швидко.
nice looking BMW. He's got some
взяв це до уваги і
pro-Ukrainian
зробив
graphics
патрульну
on
поліцію
it.
Миколаївської області ось такий подаруночок.
And he also has a
Беремо вже на
I think it's
озброєння.
a 90 caliber machine gun
Ось так.
mounted into the trunk.
Відповідно,
So
таким дуже яскравим месенджером для всіх.
just
Це буде Україна.
again, one of those, just when you think you've possibly seen it all, the United States is really concerned. They're really concerned about Israel. They're really concerned about China. We talked about this last night at the end of the episode that talked about this last night at the end of the episode that there were countries that are neutral that it might be hard for them to stay neutral. Right now, Turkey's not sure whether they're going to keep buying arms and weapons from Russia, while still they are also supplying drones, very effective drones, to Ukraine. India, we mentioned last night, is trying to keep ties open with the United States and or keep relations with the United States and trying to keep relations with Russia. Russia bombed a key aviation plant today that supplies most of India's planes and parts, and as well as China's planes and parts. So neither one of them are going to be too happy with that, I don't imagine. Israel's told the United States before the end of the month they are going to probably launch a war against Pakistan or against Palestine. They've told the United States they're probably going to hit within Iran, but not a nuclear facility. Again, if you saw this afternoon's episode, we had breaking news that all of the internet went down in Israel. There was no ingoing or outcoming, and it was called a DDoS, a direct disruption of service, I think is the technical term for DDoS. And it's assumed that it was by Russia, or I'm sorry, it's assumed that it was by Iran to punish the Israelis for Syria. Israel launched a rocket strike into Syria and killed 2 Iranian officers of the, I believe they were Iranian Republic Guard officers. But you have to wonder, was it the United States sending Israel a message. Everything's back up and running now, and it was just a short time, and there wasn't any attack. I would think if Iran was going to do something like that, as soon as they'd done it, they would have attacked while Israel didn't have computer defenses. But since that didn't happen, and it was just like a 2 to 3 hour window, it might have been the United States just saying to Israel, "Hey, whose side are you on? We don't know. We don't know what it was, and we don't know whose side Israel's on," which is somewhat of a rarity. Okay, we played this last night, and I want to make sure we get it out again today. I promised this young lady that I would share this video. She has some guilt about what's happening in her country, and she's a Russian. We started earlier in the episode with a similar video by a professional broadcaster.
Hello, my name is Vlada, and before the 24th of February, I was a climate activist from the Fridays for Future Russia. Now I left my climate activism to concentrate on the anti-war action. Now I'm going to distribute anti-war leaflets, and even by this action, I have some risks to be detained by the Russian police. Unfortunately, the anti-war movement in Russia is being oppressed by Putin's autocratic regime. People are illegally detained at anti-war rallies, then fined or sent to a temporary detention center. In police departments, people are beaten, mentally pressured, and some are subjected to physical and sexual torture. We are forbidden to say the word war. Russia's actions can only be called a special operation. For the phrase "no to war," you can get up to 15 years in prison. I'm very glad that I was not subjected to repressions, but I still fear for my friends in Russia who are risking everything they have to fight the horror that Putin has made in Ukraine. And I'm afraid for my friends in Ukraine, for whom every exit from the bomb shelter can be fatal. In such situations, Russians usually say that this war is Putin's fault, not ordinary people's. I believe that this war is really not my fault, but it is still my responsibility. Therefore, I want to appeal to everyone who hears me now. Journalists, give a voice to the victims of tortures in Russian police departments. Give a voice to everyone who suffers from this regime. And first of all, to the Ukrainians who simply wanted to live in peace on their own land. Politicians and activists in Europe, remember that your governments are still buying fossil fuels from Russia. Now it's not oil that flows through your pipes, but the blood of Ukraine.
And we're going to keep track of her, and hopefully we'll continue to hear from her. But again, communications are dwindling at an incredibly rapid space, or incredibly rapid pace, and getting information out. Mother Jones has obtained Russian government memos sent to pro-Putin media outlets telling them, quote, "it is essential," end quote, they feature Tucker Carlson in their coverage of Ukraine, quote, "as much as possible." I don't have to ask myself why. If you do, then let's take a quick look. I'm getting ready to come over in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. And if you got a question, go ahead and get it up there, and I'll be over there in just a couple of minutes, Let's go back to propaganda one-on-one. Tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it. Some people will eventually come to believe it. Accuse the other side of that which you are guilty. Anytime you hear one of these Republicans say, well, I think they might be taking some illegal contributions. We need to go through every one of Hillary's emails. Anybody says that, you need to go through every one of their emails. DeSantis, Trump, all these people talking about who's funding. We need to ask who's funding you. Propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated are confident that they are acting on their own free will. And the people from QAnon to the Proud Boys all think they're patriots, all think they're doing something great for America and undermining democracy. It is vitally important for the state to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus the greatest enemy of the state. This is going to come down to good and evil. This is going to come down to truth and lie. This is going to come down to democracy and dictatorships and what our choices are. So that's just true. It's not pretty. It's not something I want to say. So let me run back here. Douglas, hello to Kelvin, hello to Douglas. Americanus, the dude abides. Sissy, hello. Parius, hello. OSO, Fred, T-Rex, Born King, Tommy Larson. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all. If you're not in the chart or not in the chat, thank you for watching too. Please subscribe, like, hit the share, all of that. If you're on Twitter, follow. And hi, Sam, unvaccinated, Kindred. Did I miss anybody coming down through here? If I missed you, I'm sorry. Thank you all for watching. I'll be back on tomorrow, probably around 2 p.m. Sometime between noon and 2 p.m. I'll put a notice up and be on tomorrow afternoon, and then again I'll be on tomorrow night, same time, 10 p.m. tomorrow night. So I'll have a notice for that. But if you are a subscriber, hit that notification bell so you know when we're on. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so. And again, if you're on Twitter, follow me on Twitter and also on Facebook. A lot of stuff and just more and more stuff keeps coming. Are we close? Are we close to war ending in Ukraine? No. Are we close to things expanding on a global basis? We are one accident or one purposefully done incident away from being at war. And I understand dissent. I understand opposing views, and I respect the right to dissent and the right to have opposing views. And I also hope that if the time comes when push comes to shove and we are involved in something beyond our shores, that we can come together in hopes that it doesn't spread to our shores. And with that, I'll say thank you for watching. I love y'all sincerely. You can email me at americandufus@gmail.com. You can help support the show through Cashapp, $ Cashapp, or you can hit the super chat for a couple of bucks, or you can also email me for PayPal or Western Union or wiring or anything like that. I love y'all. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Peace. If you're a fellow Christian, blessings upon you and your house and your family and your friends and your loved ones. Namaste. Shalom. Salam. Slava Ukraini. Blam. Mir. Peace. I love you all. This has been News Done Differently. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Thank you for